In the heart of the city, where glass towers caught the sun and cast long shadows over bustling streets, stood the prestigious Grand Regency Hotel. Its marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and staff moved with the practiced precision of a well-oiled machine. The lobby, with its towering columns and fragrant arrangements, was always alive, a crossroads for the powerful, the wealthy, and the hopeful. That morning, rain lashed against the revolving doors. The doorman, clad in a crimson coat, watched as a figure hurried in from the storm. She was not the usual sort. Her coat was threadbare, shoes scuffed, and a battered canvas bag sagged at her side. Her hair, streaked with gray, had escaped its bun and hung in damp wisps around her face. She paused at the threshold, water pooling around her feet, and looked up at the ornate ceiling with tired, longing eyes. The concierge, Mr. Carlton, noticed her immediately. He prided himself on maintaining the hotel's impeccable image. With a quick, discreet gesture, he summoned Maria, one of the younger receptionists, and nodded towards the woman. Maria approached, smoothing her crisp uniform, her polite smile fixed. "May I help you, ma'am?" she asked, though her gaze flickered over the woman's worn clothes with thinly veiled skepticism. The woman's voice was soft, apologetic. "I'd like to book a room if possible, just for tonight." Maria hesitated. "Of course, may I have your ID and a payment method?" The woman fumbled in her bag, producing a battered wallet and a faded driver's license. She set a handful of crumpled bills on the counter, counting carefully. "Is this enough for the smallest room?" Maria's smile tightened. She glanced at the bills. Barely enough for a meal in the hotel's restaurant, let alone a room. "I'm afraid our rates are much higher, ma'am. Perhaps another hotel." Before she could finish, Mr. Carlton appeared at her side, lips pressed into a thin line. "Is there a problem, Maria?" Maria lowered her voice. "She can't afford a room, sir." Mr. Carlton's eyes hardened. "Madam, I'm sorry, but our establishment is not able to accommodate you." The woman's shoulders drooped. "I understand. My bus was delayed, and I have nowhere else to go tonight. I won't be any trouble, please." He cut her off. "We have standards to maintain. I must ask you to leave." She looked at him, something ancient and sad flickering in her eyes. "Just a little kindness, sir. That's all I ask." His expression did not soften. "You're disturbing our guests. If you don't leave, I'll have to call security." A hush had fallen over the lobby. Guests in tailored suits and silk dresses watched with practiced indifference, some whispering behind manicured hands. The woman's cheeks flushed, but she nodded, gathering her bag. She turned to leave, but a little boy, no older than 6, tugged at his mother's sleeve nearby. "Mommy, why are they making the nice lady go?" His mother shushed him, hurrying him away. As the woman reached the door, rain still pelting the city, a security guard intercepted her. "Miss, can I help you?" She shook her head. "No one can, it seems." The doorman, who had watched the scene unfold, hesitated. He was new, still learning the ways of the elite, but something about the woman's dignity unsettled him. He opened the door for her, offering his umbrella wordlessly. She paused, looked at him, and managed a grateful smile. Back inside, Mr. Carlton turned to Maria, shaking his head. "We can't have people like that hanging around. This is the Grand Regency, not a shelter." Maria nodded, but a pang of discomfort gnawed at her. She glanced at the door, where the woman had vanished into the rain. Hours passed. The storm showed no sign of abating. Guests arrived, checked in, and swept up to their suites. The staff moved on, except for Maria, who couldn't shake the image of the woman's eyes. Near midnight, the lobby doors swung open again. This time, the woman was not alone. Flanking her were 2 sharply dressed men, their suits immaculate, their presence commanding. The woman, though still in her worn clothes, stood taller, her eyes clear and calm. Mr. Carlton saw them and strode over, irritation simmering. "Madam, I told you." One of the men held up a hand. "Good evening. My name is Andrew Pierce, head of operations for the Regency Group. This is Miss Evelyn Hart." Carlton faltered. The Regency Group, parent company of the entire hotel chain. The name was synonymous with power and wealth. Andrew continued, his tone crisp. "Miss Hart is the principal owner of the Regency Group. She came here today for an unannounced inspection." Shock rippled through the staff. Maria's hand flew to her mouth. Carlton's face drained of color. Evelyn Hart looked at him, her eyes gentle but steely. "I wanted to see how guests, especially those who appear to be in need, are treated in my hotels." Mr. Carlton stammered. "Miss Hart, I didn't know." She raised a hand, silencing him. "You didn't need to know. Kindness should not depend on status or appearance." A hush fell. Guests who had witnessed the earlier scene now watched, wide-eyed. Evelyn turned to Maria, who stood rooted in place. "You tried to help, thank you. But I hope you'll remember, true hospitality is not just for those who can afford it." Maria nodded, tears pricking her eyes. Evelyn faced the staff. "When I was young, I was homeless for a time. I built this company so that no one would have to feel the shame I once did. I will not tolerate cruelty or indifference in my hotels." Mr. Carlton's voice wavered. "Please, Miss Hart, She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You will find your final paycheck in your office. You are no longer welcome here." He sagged as if the words were a physical blow. Evelyn turned to the staff. "This is an opportunity for change. We can do better. We must do better." The lobby was silent, the storm outside echoing the storm inside. After the commotion, Evelyn made her way to a quiet corner of the lobby. Maria hesitated, then approached. "I'm so sorry," Maria whispered. "I should have done more." Evelyn smiled warmly. "You showed compassion. Never apologize for that. But remember, sometimes it takes courage to do the right thing even when it's uncomfortable." Maria nodded, resolve settling in her chest. The next day, the Grand Regency was abuzz. News had spread. Ms. Hart herself had visited, and the manager had been dismissed. Staff whispered in corners, but there was something new in the air. Hope. Evelyn spent the morning with the staff, asking questions, listening to their stories. She learned of a housekeeper supporting 3 children on a single income, a bellhop who dreamed of night school, a chef who sent every spare dollar home to his family. She listened, really listened, her presence a balm to those who had long felt invisible. By afternoon, Evelyn called a staff meeting. She stood before them, no longer the poor woman in the rain, but the owner, confident, compassionate, formidable. "I built this company for people like you," she said. "This hotel is not just marble and gold. It is made of your hard work, your dedication, your dreams. From today forward, things will change. Higher wages, better benefits, and training on compassion and empathy for every guest, regardless of appearance." The staff erupted in applause. Some wept openly. For the first time in years, hope flickered in the eyes of those who served. Evelyn spent another night at the hotel, not in the penthouse suite, but in a modest room overlooking the city. She wrote letters, made phone calls, and set in motion changes that would ripple through the entire chain. Outside, the rain finally stopped. Morning light spilled through the windows as Evelyn checked out, her canvas bag slung over her shoulder. Maria was at the front desk. "Thank you, Miss Hart, for everything." Evelyn smiled. "Thank you, Maria. Remember, every act of kindness matters. You never know whose life you might change." As Evelyn left, the staff gathered to see her off. She paused at the door, looking back at the hotel she had built from nothing. She saw not the marble or gold, but the people, each with their own story, their own struggles, their own dreams. She stepped into the dawn, her heart full. In a world that often valued appearance above all, she had reminded them that true worth lay beneath the surface. That every life, no matter how humble, deserved dignity and compassion. And from that day forward, the Grand Regency became known not just for its luxury, but for the kindness that greeted every guest, rich or poor, famous or forgotten. The legacy of a woman who had once been turned away but who returned to open the doors, not just for herself, but for all those who followed. In the years that followed, the story of Evelyn Hart became legend. Guests from all walks of life came, drawn by tales of the woman who had walked in from the rain and changed everything. The staff, once wary and guarded, now greeted every soul with warmth and respect. Maria, inspired by Evelyn's example, rose through the ranks. She became the youngest general manager in the hotel's history, leading with empathy and vision. She never forgot the lesson Evelyn had taught her, that hospitality was not just a business, but a calling. And Evelyn, though she rarely appeared in public, continued her work quietly. She visited shelters, funded scholarships, and created programs to help the homeless find work and dignity. She knew what it meant to be invisible, and she vowed to use her power to lift others into the light. There were still challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But the spirit of kindness Evelyn had sparked could not be extinguished. It spread guest by guest, employee by employee, until it became the heartbeat of the Grand Regency. And so, in a city of glass and gold, one woman's courage and compassion transformed not just a hotel, but countless lives. She reminded them all that greatness is not measured by wealth or power, but by the simple, enduring power of kindness. In the end, Evelyn Hart's true legacy was not the empire she built, but the hearts she touched, the staff who found hope, the guests who found welcome, and a world that remembered that, sometimes, the greatest riches are found in the most unexpected places.